uh, there's a lot of talk about Bear and Keon Bars this camp, but not so much about Dijon Benton. What did he do to kind of earn that or status on the depth chart? And then with Bear, how has he developed through camp?
Yeah, Day-Day's done a nice job. He's active, which he's kind of always been. I think he's added a little bit of mass, a little bit of strength, stronger at the point of attack than I think he was going into last season, and that was a point of emphasis for him. And we've seen some real improvement there, and just been he had some pretty explosive like moments in games last year that were really, really good. We've challenged him to become more consistent, and he's done that on the practice field. So has earned the right to get in there and play some reps. Yeah, Bears done well. Was a little limited early in fall camp, and so we're playing catch up a little bit in terms of conditioning, in terms of just learning the defense and getting fully acclimated, but has really made up a lot of ground here the last couple of weeks, and starting to get into a little bit of game shape, being able to play a lot of plays in a row, and again understanding exactly what we're doing defensively, and that has really grown here in the last few weeks. So he's developing. Excited to see him play, but you can tell when he cuts it loose, and you can see his gifts. He gives our guys on the offensive line a hard time when he really gets going.
Thank you.
Antonio?
Hey, Lincoln, Alani Noah is an or on the depth chart. Just what have you seen from him during camp to put him in that position?
He's been one of our best linemen. I mean, he's incredibly gifted, really, for a young guy. Plays hard, plays really physical, and has done a good job picking our stuff up. He's a smart kid. He gets the game. He's still learning, certainly, but he's playing with some guys in there that have played a lot of ball, and that's certainly helpful. And he's been very good mentally, and so yeah, just impressed with his consistency, his physicality, effort, and kind of mentality that he plays with. And for any offensive lineman, like that's where it starts. You have to have that, and he does that consistently like a veteran. So you love seeing that, and with that he's improved rapidly, and there's no question he's gonna. We'll see what the rotation ends up being, or kind of who end up starting and all that. We still got competitions ongoing, like we told you guys, but I mean, he's certainly going to play.
RJ?
Sorry. So, Lincoln, you've talked in the past about wanting a line between what high school recruits are able to access and what college players are going to be able to access. And you've kind of been asking forever about the NCAA maybe taking the lead or somebody taking the lead in this. I'm just curious, if you were in charge, what are maybe the one or two things you would do to kind of organize where high school recruiting is at specifically relative to portal recruiting and the rest of it?
Are you talking about like an issue specifically? I don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, like with NIL
Yeah.
collectives, like you talked in the past about really encouraging, college athletes to benefit in the ways that they've been able to, but you're a little hesitant about where that line's supposed to be with recruits and high school players.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different now. It's different for every state. It's different for every school. It's different how every school's administration handles every school's compliance. Every family's different. So yeah, I think at some point we've all said it, right? I think everybody just wants some uniformity at some point. I don't know that I have the answer. I think the answer may be something potentially much bigger than just simply one rule change or policy change here and there. I think it's something we've got to really look at. I mean, I think the transparency of what these guys are receiving from an NIL standpoint, I think would be a great thing. But it's something that's got to, it has to have some teeth to it. It has to have, there's got to be a real incentive and also mechanism and then penalties in place if things are not reported, because I think that could potentially help a lot of this. And I think we all want the same thing, right? I think right, the perfect world, what everybody would love to have is college athletes have at it. If you're a high school athlete in a state where they allow NIL, like have at it, go get it, do the best you can. I don't think anybody wants it to seep into recruiting and become part of a prospect's decision. But that's where it is right now. And it's going to take more than one policy change or more than one just simple rule to maybe get us to the right spot. You're probably talking about, something much, much bigger than just that. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, we're all learning about it. We're all, it's evolved even in the last year. It's evolved a lot, and it's going to continue to evolve. And so, yeah, I think the hard thing is like you take like an NFL team. Everybody knows what the salary cap is, right? Like the laws are all the same. Like everything, it's transparent, and it's very kind of out in the open, and it's very there's not one set of rules for this team and one set of rules for that team, right? And I think that's why that model works. And as a lot of coaches and other people have said, we're stuck somewhere right now in between, kind of half professional, half amateur right now.
Thank you.
Luca?
Yeah, Lincoln, I just wanted to ask if you had any sort of clarity on how Austin Jones, Marshawn Lloyd were going to kind of be used right now. I know they're both kind of listed as starters, any sense of how those different guys might kind of break down in terms of usage or any particular facet against San Jose State?
Yeah, no, we have a great idea of how we're going to do it, but that wouldn't be something that I would share publicly. So they're both good players, both going to have roles for us, as are some of the other backs in that room. It's a really good room, and a lot of guys that we want to play and get involved, and so tune in Saturday.
Dukeney?
Lincoln, you mentioned previously that maybe the offensive line rotation will end up featuring more than just 5 guys. So how do you balance wanting to have like a cohesive unit that's used to playing together while also rotating guys and making sure that they play if they've earned that playing time?
Yeah, great question. That group is, one of the more important ones on the field in terms of being cohesive. And so it is a balance. And I think we've got some good competition. And I think the most important thing is figuring out, eventually, like, who are the right 5 guys. I think some of the potential rotations here early on are for good reason, that we've got several guys that we think could be that. And we want to give those guys a chance to go play. And so, yeah, I mean, I think here at some point you would hope / expect that the lineup will settle in a ways. But we played with a lot of different lineups last year. Sometimes it's, where this benefits you is when the injury does happen, right? When this guy all of a sudden is not available to play, and you've got to move some people around, that you've got different guys that have played, and you've been able to move a few guys around position wise, and it sets you up for the season. I mean, I think I've had one season in my career where we started the same offensive line every single game. Like, it just doesn't, such a physical position. It just doesn't happen very often. And I thought at times last year, it really affected us. And I think one of the hopes, obviously, most importantly, get the right 5 guys on the field. But one of the hopes right now is that we can be deeper, we can be a little bit better, so that when it does happen, it doesn't affect us quite as, at times, negatively as it did last year.
Thanks.
Jack?
Hey, Lincoln, I feel like Kyron Hudson sometimes gets lost in the conversation of the talent you guys have at wide receiver. What was your first impression of him when you showed up last year, and what has he done so far through camp to earn a share of a starting spot?
He's one of our most consistent players, most consistent workers. He never complains. He's always out just to work and get better. He has a real professional mindset, and I love the kid. Love coaching him. He's joy to coach, and he made fall camp. He might have been the team MVP in fall camp. I mean, he had as good a fall camp as any player on our roster at any position. So I mean, he's consistent guy that has gotten a lot more explosive. He's in great shape. He's healthy. Like he's playing at a high level right now.
Thank you.
Scott? Scott?
Hey, I have a recruiting question. I hate to ruin the preseason vibe here, but you had a really, really strong June with recruiting, a lot of commitments. July, there was a little bit of a stall. It's hard to maintain that momentum you guys had in July, but it kind of felt like getting the season underway and playing really well this season seemed to be the missing element that remains for you guys for a boost recruiting down the stretch. Are there a group of guys that you guys are at least semi-confident with a strong season you'll have a solid shot with come signing day in December?
Yeah, absolutely. No, we've still got a few more slots in that class that we want to fill and that we will fill. And I know I've referenced this a few times. I mean, recruiting goes through its phases. For us, getting a chance to go play and put our brand of ball on tape is always been an important part for us. I think there's a little bit of a little bit of like a thought out there, right? That like all this recruiting is like done by summer, and then there's just the season and it's over. Like I mean, to us, the season is a huge part of it, especially when you're still like we're still relatively pretty new here, right? And in what is most certainly a rebuild, still in the early stages of that. So for us to be able to take the work that we're doing, be able to go put it on the field and people see the results is important. And this will be an important stretch for us and for the program. And it's like we said, I think some places enjoy the off season when there's not maybe the competition or not the wins and losses. And it's, as what we say around here, there's hype season and there's football season. All right. It's time for football season. This is our favorite part. And I think those recruits will see that, and we'll get this class finished up and get ready for the next one.
Shotgun?
Hey, Lincoln. Sorry for the extra noise, but you guys have a ton of expectations outside of the building. What is the biggest hurdle or obstacle to you guys to reaching your goals this season?
It's the first question I've ever got from an airplane. I like it. We're starting strong. Yeah, biggest obstacles. I think this group's going to need to really come together in a way that, the season challenges you in different ways, and we're going to get challenged in different ways than we did previously. Like that's just part of it. And I think the group last year did a great job of coming together. And I think in a lot of ways, probably overachieved in some regards. And I think it was talked about a lot last year, right? The closeness of that team and how much that team enjoyed playing the game together and how quickly they really just bonded. And I think you've seen signs of that, but like now, this is a time where it gets put to the test and you really find out. And so our team's ability to do that will be very, very important. And then I think the other goal for us will be, as the season goes on, as games go on, are we a group that the longer, these things carry on, that we continue to improve and we continue to get better, whether it's in a game, whether it's in a season. Our best needs to be at the end of kind of the proverbial end, right, of all these different segments of the season. And that's going to be that's gonna be really, really important. I mean, it's that's a lot of times the difference between championships and not. And so it's something we've harped on since the day the season ended, and now we get our chance to go prove it.
Jim?
Yeah, Lincoln. When you bring a lot of new guys into camp, high-profile new guys especially, what kind of impact does that have on chemistry? And does it maybe invigorate the returning guys and kind of juice everything up?
Yeah, I think if they're motivated the right way, because I mean, I don't know if high profile on the outside, but when you bring in talented guys that can help your football team, I mean, one, people should be excited that somebody's there that can help the team, and two, it should continue to create a higher level of competition, among the team and a higher standard among the team. And so if you've got a team that's not selfish and wants to win and wants to compete, if you've got a team full of those guys, then it's going to be nothing but a positive. Now, if your culture's not great and you got a bunch of individuals or guys that kind of just want things handed to them, then it could in turn be a negative. No, I think there's excitement about the guys that have come in, and I know there's a lot of excitement about the guys that have come in on the outside, but there's been a lot of focus on developing the guys that were here too. And I think you're going to see better versions of a lot of those guys very soon.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we have time for about two more. Mark?
Hey, Coach, thanks for taking the time to do this. Question for you, and you've probably already covered this, but coming in at the end of fall camp, was there anything, a person, a situation that just caught you and the staff and said, you know what, I did not anticipate this. I had no idea we were at this level yet.
Go a little further. I don't know if I fully follow you there.
I think it's probably piggybacking a little bit off of Shotgun's question. You go through fall camp, spring camp, and fall camp, and you get to the point where it's like, oh, wow, I didn't realize we had this already. And you might begin thinking you're going to see that later in the season. Are you at a point now where like you've already surpassed maybe an anticipation expectation?
It's hard to say, because there's definitely a lot of excitement and I think a lot of confidence about what this group can do. College football is just so different, man, just because I know I've said it a lot, like you compete against each other every day. That like, what's the measuring stick of that, right? Like, I think you'd know a lot more if you had that. And so there's always, I've felt it every year. There's always a kind of just an interest on your own of like, all right, what are we going to look like here when we actually go out there and go against somebody else? I would say maybe the area I feel like is a team that we're maybe a little further ahead and have been able to really zero in on is some of the situational football. When you're not teaching every single person on the offense or defense or special teams the system brand new for the first time, I feel like you get a little bit ahead and you're able to not only be teaching this, but start to dive into, all right, how does that work in this situation of the game? And really increase these guys' overall understanding of those situations. And I've seen some signs early that we're ahead of where we were last year. And I think excited about that because so often the game, especially big games against good teams, tend to come down to those. And so I think that's been an important development for us.
And we'll wrap it up with Eric.
Lincoln, I know you've talked a lot about kind of getting better throughout the season and improving week over week, but in your experience, are there things game one where the team puts it out on the field and that becomes sort of thematic of the team through the year? You kind of know what you have in certain areas.
It's the first look, right? And I think it's definitely a part of it. Now, there's a lot of teams that have great first games that doesn't necessarily translate into great seasons. And so it's a starting point. I mean, we only get so many of these. And they're all very important, just like this one this Saturday is for us. And so you want to start at a great point, but it's no matter how it goes Saturday, right? It's going to take consistent improvement across the board. It's going to take different individuals stepping up. Like, your challenge is that, like I said, like the target always moves, right? And you've got to be ready to respond to that. And so, yeah, I mean, it's super important. Need to start well, but we're going to need to improve a lot and continue to grow no matter what happens this Saturday.